All right, good day everyone again and welcome back. Now we're gonna go and look at do while loop. It's similar to the while loop. It's just a difference in the sequence on how you write your code, but everything else is still the same as what we just saw with the while loop. So without any waste of time, let's see how the flowchart will look like. If you remember for the previous flowchart that we just saw on the while loop, the test condition was on top, and then after the test condition, then that's when you had the body of your loop. But this, they just switch. So you start by having the body first, and then after you do whatever that you are required to do, then you have your test condition, which is a little bit different from what we just saw, but everything else is the same. With that being said, let's see what we have on the next part. All right, so let's assume now we are doing the same question as we did on the under while loop. You have this question that you have to calculate the class average for your 5 students, just like we did previously. Now, how will this change when now we are using a do while loop as opposed to the while loop? Obviously, this part will be the same. Your declaration and the counter, your sum and everything will be the same as the previous one, okay? And then the only difference that is that you starting with the body of your loop. So after you declare, the first thing you're gonna do is you enter the mark, you capture the marks, and then you add the marks to the sum, and then you end 1 to your counter. And after doing that, then you check if your mark is less, your counter is less than 5. And then if yes, you go back and do you loop. So you go back to your body of your loop, and then you enter the mark again, you enter the sum, and then you increase the loop again by 1, the counter by 1, and you come down, you check again. So you see the difference. Here we start by capturing the marks first before you check the test condition, and only when the test condition is false, then you exit the loop. You do your average as you were doing previously, and then you end your code. You terminate your loop. So I'm not sure if I'm making any sense. So what I would suggest to do is that you look at this compared to the while loop, and then you see the difference. You're gonna see that the code doesn't change much. It's only the order that will change. All right, and then yeah, I think that basically it's just to look at the two code, the two flowchart that we had, the while loop against this one, and see what's the difference. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. In terms of the pseudo code as well, it's pretty much the same. You declare, you set to 0 because you want to start from 0, and then you write your code first, then you repeat it. So basically the order of your loop is changing, so it's kind of like a switch, okay, but the rest is the same. And then you find your average, and then you display the average. So as I said, it's basically the opposite. You flip your while loop to get your do while loop. Okay, now in terms of the code, it's pretty much the same. There's nothing different. As you know, we start with the top and bottom, which is similar, and then we do the declaration, and then we do the initialization, and then after that we do our do while loop. Okay, you can change that one, the comment there, but it's fine. You just change it to do while loop. What you do is that you put your body of your loop, and then at the bottom you put the while condition. See the difference here. Now you're going to see after you put your while condition, you put a semicolon, but if you check on the while loop, there is no semicolon after you put a condition. Just bear in mind that one. Okay, now inside the do the body of your loop, what do we have? We ask the user to enter their marks, you capture their marks, and then you do the sum just like we did previously, and then at the end you increase the counter by 1. Okay, so this will go on and on until you reach this condition that we have for ourselves. Okay, and then that condition is n is less than 5. Once you do that, once it reaches 5, then it's gonna calculate the average and then display the average as it's required. So I hope it makes sense. Just look at this one and look at the previous one that we had. Write this one compared to what you wrote. And remember what I always tell you, save your code, okay? Whatever you write the code, save it. And then, because you will need it in the future, okay? So I hope this makes sense. And then, yeah, and then we'll move to the next part. Okay. We will do again the same question. The reason why I'm doing this so that at least you still have that in your mind, okay? You still have what we had in the while loop. You still have that code. I'm assuming that you saved that code, so that you're just gonna change a few things to make sure that it works. All right. As I said previously, I won't do the flowchart for you. Try to fill it in. So if you did it successfully on the while loop, this won't be an issue. You just move. Switch it around, you know, it's basically the same thing. Do the flow chart here, and from the flow chart, then we move to the code, which I'm going to discuss. Remember, the question is still the same. We did this question previously. Okay, now excuse me, the code again. We're going to start the code. You will see that it's exactly the same that we had, but it's just the order which you're going to change. Previously we had while, now it's do while. Okay, we declare our functions, our add functions, we declare our multiply function, and then we go into our main function where we obviously declare these variables that we're going to be using, and then we do our while, our do while loop. Okay, you start with do, while comes at the bottom. Okay, so basically you do whatever that is inside while n is less than 15. As soon as while l is no longer less than 15, you're going to have to exit. That's basically what it means. Okay, you do this while n is less than 15. And what are you doing? You are doing this. You enter the marks, ask the user to enter the marks, you capture the marks, and then you calculate the DP for the user, and then you tell them what they get as DP, and then you increment the loop, the counter by 1, and you do it. So you capture for 15 students, you capture their marks, and you tell them the DP. So basically you are displaying the DP as they give you their marks. And then once you reach 15, you exit, and then you end your calculation. So I hope you're gonna do this as well and try it around. Play around, as I said. I'll give you, after this, I'm gonna give you a couple of questions that you're gonna have to do as part of the tutorial. So I will give you, I think, 2 questions. One you're gonna do on the while, and another different question that you're gonna do using a do while. So do this. You have a problem, pause, play, and review the question again, and review the video, and then until you get it right. Okay. Next, we're gonna move to the tutorial. I will give you the tutorial which you're gonna do, and then when I see you next week, we will discuss it in class. Okay, good luck, and see you all next week.